Have you ever noticed how certain sounds, voices, or even the way someone looks at you can instantly transport you back to feeling like a helpless child? One moment you're a capable adult handling your responsibilities, and the next, you're flooded with emotions that seem to belong to someone much younger, much more vulnerable. Your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow, and suddenly you're reacting with an intensity that surprises even you. Carl Jung understood this phenomenon in ways that were revolutionary for his time and remain profound today. He recognized that within every adult lives what he called the eternal child, not just as a memory or metaphor, but as a living, breathing aspect of our psyche that continues to influence how we respond to the world. But Jung went deeper than most realize. He understood that this inner child doesn't just carry our creativity and wonder, it also carries our earliest survival patterns, encoded directly into our nervous system. Modern neuroscience has validated Jung's insights in remarkable ways. Research shows that childhood experiences literally shape the developing nervous system, creating neural pathways that continue to fire decades later. When a child experiences chronic stress, neglect, or trauma, their autonomic nervous system adapts by remaining in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for danger, even when safety is present. What Jung called psychological complexes, we now understand as trauma responses stored in the body. These aren't just mental patterns, they're physiological realities that influence everything from your heart rate to your hormone production to your ability to form secure attachments. The inner child's nervous system becomes the adult's nervous system, carrying forward patterns that once meant survival but now create suffering. If you've ever wondered why you feel anxious without apparent reason, why you react so strongly to criticism, why you struggle to calm down once you're upset, or why certain situations trigger responses that seem bigger than the moment warrants, then understanding Jung's approach to nervous system regulation could transform your relationship with your own emotional responses. Before we explore these profound insights that have helped thousands learn to work with, rather than against their nervous system, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you value deep psychological wisdom that actually works. This channel is dedicated to exploring the truths that can genuinely change how you experience your inner world. Now let's discover what Carl Jung understood about the intricate connection between your inner child and your nervous system, and how this understanding becomes the key to finally feeling safe in your own body. Jung's revolutionary insight about the inner child begins with his understanding of what he called archetypal inheritance. He believed that we don't just inherit our parents' physical traits, we also inherit their psychological patterns, their unresolved traumas, and their nervous system adaptations. This means that your inner child may be carrying not just your own childhood experiences, but also the unexpressed fears and survival strategies of previous generations. This concept, which Jung termed the collective unconscious, takes on new meaning when we understand it through the lens of nervous system science. We now know that trauma can be passed down epigenetically, literally changing gene expression in ways that affect how the nervous system develops and responds to stress. Your inner child's hypervigilance might be rooted not just in your own experiences, but in your grandmother's war trauma or your great-grandfather's struggle with poverty. Jung observed that these inherited patterns create what he called autonomous complexes, clusters of thoughts, emotions, and physiological responses that seem to have a life of their own. When your inner child's nervous system gets triggered, it's not just responding to the present moment, it's responding to layers of experience that extend far beyond your conscious awareness. The key insight that transforms everything is understanding that your inner child's nervous system developed in relationship and can only heal in relationship. This doesn't necessarily mean you need other people to heal, though supportive relationships certainly help. It means you need to develop what Jung called a conscious relationship with the unconscious, learning to be the calm, attuned presence that your inner child never received. Jung's method of active imagination provides a powerful framework for nervous system regulation. Active imagination involves consciously engaging with the autonomous complexes within your psyche, offering them the attention and understanding they've been seeking. When applied to nervous system work, this means learning to dialogue with your triggered states rather than trying to eliminate them. Instead of fighting your anxiety, you might ask it what it's trying to protect. Instead of judging your anger, you might explore what boundary it's trying to establish. Instead of suppressing your sadness, you might listen to what loss it's trying to process. This approach transforms nervous system symptoms from enemies to be conquered into messengers to be understood. Jung discovered that the inner child's nervous system speaks a language of symbols, sensations, and images rather than words and logic. This is why traditional talk therapy, while valuable, often falls short of creating lasting change in nervous system regulation. The inner child communicates through body sensations, emotional reactions, and what Jung called feeling-toned complexes that operate below the level of conscious thought. Learning to speak this symbolic language becomes essential for anyone wanting to regulate their inner child's nervous system. When you notice tension in your shoulders, instead of just trying to relax them, you might ask what burden they're carrying. When you feel tightness in your chest, rather than breathing it away, you might explore what your heart is trying to protect. When you experience that sinking feeling in your stomach, instead of ignoring it, you might listen to what your intuition is trying to communicate. The practice of what Jung called holding the tension of opposites becomes crucial for nervous system regulation. Most people try to eliminate uncomfortable sensations or emotions as quickly as possible, but Jung understood that healing happens not through elimination, but through integration. This means learning to hold space for both your activation and your calm, both your fear and your courage, both your vulnerability and your strength. This capacity to contain seemingly contradictory experiences without immediately trying to resolve them is what allows the nervous system to discharge stored trauma and develop new patterns of response. When you can stay present with your inner child's activation without immediately trying to fix it, the nervous system begins to complete cycles that may have been interrupted years or even decades ago. Jung's understanding of what he called the transcendent function provides insight into how nervous system healing actually occurs. The transcendent function emerges when conscious awareness meets unconscious content in a way that creates something entirely new. In nervous system terms, this happens when your adult consciousness can stay present with your inner child's triggered state long enough for integration to occur naturally. This process can't be rushed or forced. Jung observed that the psyche has its own wisdom about timing and readiness for healing. The inner child's nervous system will only begin to relax when it trusts that the adult consciousness won't abandon it during difficult moments. This trust develops through consistency, showing up for your inner child's experience again and again, even when it's uncomfortable. Modern research on polyvagal theory validates Jung's insights about the nervous system's inherent wisdom. Dr. Stephen Porges's research shows that the nervous system is constantly assessing safety and threat through what he calls neuroception, the subconscious detection of cues that signal safety or danger. Your inner child's nervous system may be responding to subtle cues that your conscious mind doesn't even notice. This is why Jung emphasized the importance of what he called the feeling function, learning to trust your emotional and somatic responses as valid sources of information. Your inner child's nervous system may be picking up on micro-expressions, vocal tones, or energy shifts that your rational mind dismisses. Learning to take these responses seriously, rather than overriding them with logic, becomes essential for nervous system regulation. Jung's concept of psychological types also relates to how different people's nervous systems regulate differently. Some people are naturally more sensitive to environmental stimuli, while others are more robust. Some process emotions internally before expressing them, while others need to verbalize their experience to make sense of it. Understanding your inner child's unique nervous system constitution helps you provide the specific type of regulation they need. The introversion-extroversion dimension, for example, isn't just about social preferences. It's about how your nervous system processes stimulation. An introverted inner child may become overwhelmed in busy environments and need quiet, solitary time to regulate. An extroverted inner child may become anxious when isolated and need social connection or external activity to feel balanced. Jung's emphasis on the importance of ritual and symbolism provides practical tools for nervous system regulation. The inner child responds powerfully to symbolic acts that communicate safety, care, and attention. This might involve creating bedtime rituals that signal to your nervous system that it's safe to rest, morning practices that help you transition from sleep to wakefulness, or transitional objects that provide comfort during stressful situations. These aren't childish indulgences, they're sophisticated interventions that work with your nervous system's symbolic processing rather than against it. Jung understood that the psyche responds to meaning as much as to mechanism. A candle lit with intention can be more regulating than a breathing technique performed mechanically. The somatic dimension of Jung's work, while not as explicitly developed as in modern trauma therapy, was clearly present in his understanding of how psychological content manifests in the body. He observed that complexes don't just influence thoughts and emotions, they create specific patterns of physical tension, breathing, and movement. Jung's concept of somatic markers, emotional memories, stored in the body, anticipated much of what we now understand about trauma and the nervous system. He recognized that healing requires working with these somatic markers directly, not just through verbal processing. This might involve movement practices that help discharge stored activation, breathing techniques that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, or touch practices that provide the physical comfort your inner child never received. The practice of what Jung called circumambulation, walking around a problem rather than trying to solve it directly, offers a powerful metaphor for nervous system regulation. Instead of trying to eliminate anxiety, depression, or other symptoms, circumambulation involves developing a relationship with these states that allows you to understand their protective function. When you circumambulate your inner child's nervous system activation, you might notice that what feels like pure anxiety actually contains important information about boundaries that need to be set. What seems like overwhelming sadness might be grief that needs to be processed. What appears to be destructive anger might be life force energy that needs healthy expression. Jung's understanding of dreams becomes particularly relevant for nervous system regulation because dreams often provide direct communications from the body's wisdom about what it needs for healing. Many people find that as they develop more conscious relationship with their inner child, their dreams become more vivid and informative about their nervous system's needs. Keeping a dream journal specifically focused on body sensations, emotions, and themes of safety or danger can provide ongoing guidance for your regulation practice. Jung emphasized that dream work shouldn't become another obligation, but rather a gentle way of staying attuned to the deeper movements of your psyche and nervous system. The creative dimension of Jung's approach offers natural pathways for nervous system regulation that don't feel like therapeutic work. He observed that creative expression provides direct access to unconscious contents, bypassing the rational mind's tendency to control or analyze. When your inner child's nervous system is dysregulated, engaging in creative activities that feel good in your body can provide regulation without effort. This might involve drawing, painting, singing, dancing, writing, or any form of expression that allows your inner child's authentic energy to flow. The key is approaching creativity as play rather than performance, offering your nervous system opportunities for spontaneous expression and joy that may have been limited in your actual childhood. Jung's concept of individuation provides the larger framework within which nervous system regulation occurs. Individuation isn't just about personal growth. It's about becoming who you truly are beneath the adaptive patterns that survival required. For many people, this means learning to trust their nervous system's responses rather than overriding them with social expectations or internal criticism. The process of individuation often involves what Jung called psychological crises periods, when old patterns no longer work and new ways of being haven't yet emerged. During these transitions, nervous system dysregulation is common and even necessary. Understanding these periods as natural parts of development rather than signs of pathology can help you navigate them with more patience and self-compassion. Jung's emphasis on the importance of meaning in psychological healing translates directly to nervous system work. Your inner child's nervous system isn't just responding to immediate triggers, it's also responding to deeper questions about belonging, purpose, and significance. Regulation practices that connect you to a sense of meaning and purpose are often more sustainable than those that focus only on symptom management. This might involve spending time in nature, engaging in service to others, pursuing creative projects that feel personally meaningful, or participating in spiritual or religious practices that connect you to something larger than individual concerns. Jung understood that the psyche needs not just safety, but also purpose to truly thrive. The relational dimension of nervous system regulation was something Jung understood intuitively, though it's been more explicitly developed in modern trauma therapy. He recognized that healing happens in relationship, whether with a therapist, trusted friends, family members, or spiritual communities. Your inner child's nervous system learned to be dysregulated in relationship, and it needs safe relationships to learn new patterns. But Jung also emphasized the importance of developing what he called a relationship with oneself. This internal relationship becomes the foundation for all external relationships. When you can be present with your own inner child's activation without becoming overwhelmed or reactive, you become capable of holding space for others' emotional experiences as well. The practice of what modern therapists call co-regulation, sharing nervous system, states with others who can help you return to balance, was something Jung understood as essential for healing. This might involve spending time with people who feel calming to your nervous system, engaging in synchronized activities like singing or walking together, or simply being around others who can witness your experience without trying to fix it. Jung's understanding of projection becomes crucial in nervous system regulation work. Often, we unconsciously expect others to regulate our nervous systems for us, becoming dependent on their moods, approval, or presence for our own stability. Learning to recognize these projections and take responsibility for your own regulation is essential for developing genuine autonomy. This doesn't mean becoming completely self-sufficient, which would be another form of dysregulation. It means developing the capacity to provide primary regulation to your own inner child, while also being able to receive support from others when needed. The seasonal and cyclical nature of nervous system healing was something Jung observed throughout his work with patients. There are periods when your inner child's nervous system may be more activated and need extra care, and periods when it feels more settled and resilient. Learning to recognize these natural rhythms and adjust your regulation practices accordingly prevents the frustration that comes from expecting linear progress. Jung's concept of psychological seasons suggests that just as nature has cycles of growth and dormancy, the psyche has cycles of expansion and integration. During expansion phases, you might be more capable of exploring challenging material and trying new regulation techniques. During integration phases, you might need more rest, routine, and gentle maintenance of the progress you've made. The spiritual dimension of nervous system regulation was central to Jung's understanding, though he approached spirituality from a psychological rather than religious perspective. He observed that many nervous system symptoms reflect what he called spiritual emergencies, moments when the psyche is trying to evolve beyond its current limitations. This perspective transforms nervous system activation from pathology into potential gateway to growth. When your inner child's nervous system becomes dysregulated, it might not just be responding to old trauma, it might also be responding to new possibilities trying to emerge. This doesn't mean that all anxiety or depression is spiritual awakening, but it suggests that some nervous system activation serves the process of psychological and spiritual development. Jung's understanding of what he called the religious function of the psyche relates to the human need for experiences of meaning, transcendence, and connection to something beyond individual concerns. Many people find that as they learn to regulate their inner child's nervous system, they naturally become more open to experiences of beauty, wonder, and spiritual connection that may have been suppressed along with their emotional wounds. The integration of nervous system regulation with daily life requires what Jung called practical wisdom, the ability to apply psychological insights in ordinary circumstances. This might mean recognizing when your inner child's nervous system is becoming activated during work meetings and taking subtle steps to provide grounding, or noticing when certain relationships consistently dysregulate your nervous system and adjusting your boundaries accordingly. Jung emphasized that healing doesn't require perfect circumstances or unlimited time for self-care. It requires developing sensitivity to your inner child's needs and creativity in meeting those needs within the constraints of adult responsibilities. Sometimes regulation happens through micro-practices that take only moments but provide exactly what your nervous system needs in that situation. The community aspect of nervous system healing reflects Jung's understanding that individual healing serves collective healing. When you learn to regulate your own inner child's nervous system, you become more capable of helping others feel safe and calm. You also become less likely to unconsciously dysregulate others through your own unprocessed activation. Jung believed that this kind of individual work contributes to what he called the healing of the collective. As more people learn to work consciously with their nervous systems, rather than acting out their activation unconsciously, the overall emotional climate of families, workplaces, and communities improves. The patience required for nervous system healing cannot be overstated. Jung observed that psychological healing follows organic rhythms that can't be forced or hurried. Your inner child's nervous system may have spent decades learning to be hypervigilant, and it takes time to build the trust necessary for deep relaxation and regulation. This patience extends to accepting that some days your regulation practices will feel effective, and other days they won't. Some periods will bring noticeable progress, while others will require simply maintaining your commitment to showing up for your inner child, even when dramatic change isn't apparent. Jung's concept of chronic anxiety as potentially serving psychological development offers a different perspective on nervous system symptoms. While acute anxiety signals immediate danger, chronic anxiety may indicate that your psyche is trying to process something that hasn't been consciously acknowledged. Your inner child's nervous system may be holding information that your adult consciousness isn't ready to face directly. Working with chronic activation requires what Jung called active patience, remaining curious about what your nervous system is trying to communicate, while also taking practical steps to provide comfort and stability. This might involve therapy, bodywork, creative expression, spiritual practice, or simply more rest and routine until you're ready to explore the deeper material. The transformation that emerges from successful nervous system regulation is often subtle but profound. Instead of dramatic personality changes, you may notice increased resilience in challenging situations, greater capacity for intimacy and vulnerability, enhanced creativity and spontaneity, and a general sense of feeling more at home in your own body. Jung understood this transformation as a return to your authentic nature, rather than the creation of something new. Your inner child's regulated nervous system allows access to capacities that were always present but had been suppressed or frozen by survival responses. Joy, curiosity, trust, and creative expression emerge naturally when the nervous system feels safe. For those who feel overwhelmed by the prospect of nervous system healing, Jung's message is one of profound hope. The regulation you're seeking doesn't require becoming a different person. It requires creating conditions where your authentic self can safely emerge from behind the protective patterns that survival once demanded. Your inner child's nervous system has been waiting not for someone else to fix it, but for you to develop the consciousness and skills necessary to provide what it has always needed: consistent presence, patient understanding, and the kind of safety that allows natural healing processes to unfold. This healing doesn't happen through dramatic interventions or perfect techniques. It happens through the accumulation of moments when you choose to stay present with your inner child's experience, rather than abandoning them through numbing, distraction, or self-criticism. It happens through learning to trust your nervous system's responses as intelligent communications rather than problems to be solved. As Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For those committed to nervous system healing, this privilege unfolds through daily choices to honor your inner child's needs, respect your nervous system's wisdom, and create the internal conditions where authentic self-expression becomes not just possible but natural. Your inner child's nervous system doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be understood, respected, and gently guided toward the regulation that allows your true self to shine. This journey requires patience, compassion, and trust in your own capacity for healing, but it leads to a way of being in the world that honors both your vulnerability and your strength, your need for safety and your desire for authentic connection. The practice begins now, in this moment, with whatever small gesture of care you can offer to the child, within whose nervous system has been working so hard to keep you safe. Trust that this care, offered consistently with genuine intention, has the power to transform not just how you feel in your body, but how you engage with every aspect of your life. This is the gift Jung discovered. When you finally learn to work with your nervous system rather than against it, you become capable of living with an authenticity and aliveness that seemed impossible when you were at war with your own natural responses.